this was this was something I didn't really want to have to make, but I know that certain events that transpired may cause things to be misconstrued a bit, and to paint me out as this, you know, some evil, malevolent guy, which I'm not. But I just wanted to set the record straight and present my side of the story before all of these all of these so and so's come and start accusing me of things that I categorically have not done or have had any part in doing. So this is my um confession, I guess, if you want to call it that. But it's not a confession because, again, I didn't do anything wrong. Um, but to set the stage, where it's winter, it's currently January, right now, and my lips, they get extremely cold. Not cold per se, but they get extremely dry, and so I I wear a lot of chapstick. I put it on probably when I wake up, and then once more when I get into work, and then after lunch I put some on, and maybe if I need a top up, um, right before I leave, then I'll do it. But normally that lasts me until the rest of the day. I think it's especially important for me because I talk on the phone a lot as a part of my job. So mouth gets dry. You have lots of water. The water kind of gets rid of the chapstick. I don't know if there's a specific word when water gets rid of something, but that's what happens. It washes it away, basically. Um, and yeah, so I was leaving work. It was a long day. I was tired. I was a bit fed up, truth be told. Um, and I left work, and got about halfway down the street. So for about a minute or so, and then I checked my jacket pocket, and the chapstick was in there. And naturally, I started to panic a little bit because chapstick is extremely important to me. Um, you know, not saying it's the most important thing in my life, and I'm gonna kill a man over it. Um, but you know, it's for my health. And I think that in a world so um, you know, let's be honest, it's not great out there. I think that it's important to take care of yourself at the very least, because other people won't. Anyway, so yeah, I checked all of my pockets. I checked my trouser pockets, my other jacket pockets. Because I have one at the side and then one like inside. That's where I normally keep my chapstick is inside with the rest of my train card and my keys and my phone or whatever. So it wasn't there. So naturally, I went back to my office. And I think I got to set the scene for my office as well, just kind of the setup. So it's quite a small office, and to access it, you need to go up the flight of quite steep stairs, which I think violates some sort of health and safety regulation or code or something. There's something wrong with it. Anyway, so I haven't got a key to my office, because I'm quite new, relatively new. For some reason they want to give me a key, even though I'm perfectly trustworthy. But again, more about that later. And I went up to the stairs, and my coworker, because he has to lock everything up because I don't have a key to to do it. So I went up, and he locked all the doors and stuff, or whatever. And I was like, "Oh, sorry. Could you open the door back up again? Because I left my chapstick in the office." And he was like, "Yeah, look, I'd love to, but I've got to head off now because I, you know, I've got to get beat the traffic. He's got to get home." Um, help out his wife with the kids or something, selfish like that. Um, and sorry, I should explain this as well. The stairs lead up to this little platform thing. So you go up when you get to the top of the stairs. There's like a little square platform, and that's how you get inside. You don't the stairs don't directly lead into the office and go up to the door. You stand on the platform. So you're both standing on the platform, on the top of this flight of stairs, um, and what was it? Yeah, and then he went. And he was like, "No, I can't do it. I've got to get back to the wife and kids and beat the traffic and be home for dinner or something stupid like that." And I was like, "Well, yeah, but it would just take you 5 seconds to open the door and just let me back in, and then I'll find not the office, my chapstick, and then we'll be gone." And he was like, um, I can't even remember. The whole thing was a bit of a blur. I was getting quite heated because I want my fucking chapstick. Like, that's what I want. That's what I wanted. He just needs to open the door, disable the alarm, let me look at it for however long I needed to, 5-10 minutes. Then he can go home to his wife and his two kids, or however many he has. I don't care. Um, but no, he was like, no, you can't let it back in. We'll be back the next day at 9. Can't you wait? Because it was up 6 o'clock at night. Um, and it was dark. Which isn't necessarily relevant, but it was just us two, um, kind of them. And I was like, no, I can't because I need this chapstick to function, like, I'm not gonna die without it. But at the same time, I really, really need it because my lips are super dry. I've been talking all day. I just want something to give me some comfort and some release from the day that I had. And then I continued, back and forth for a bit. I was like, let me in. He was like, say no. I'm like, well, the longer you keep saying no, the longer we're gonna be stood out here in the cold, you know, trying to convince you to let me into the office. I mean, like, it wasn't even like I was stopping him from leaving. Like, all he had to say was, excuse me, move me out the way of the stairs, and he could go down the stairs and be off. But uh, I don't know why he didn't ask to leave. He just seemed very argumentative that day. Um, and yeah, and so one thing you must understand about this person is that they're very anxious person, I would say. They tend to get quite flustered pretty quickly. And where they're asthmatic, there's been times when they've kind of, you know, gotten a bit of a tizzing and not really fully being in control of themselves and their breathing capacity. So they kind of, hyperventilate. And we gotta sort them out and give them the asthma pump or whatever the fuck they use. Um, so yeah, they were. It's happened before, and I could tell what's happening. Where you know the heart was kind of the heart rate was increasing. I couldn't see his face properly because it was kind of dark. But I'm assuming it might have turned a bit red or whatever. Um, and yeah, I mean, I could see the I don't know the shoulder. You kind of see the starting to get a bit, like getting a bit worried. I don't understand why. I wasn't being pushy or anything. I think I was being perfectly reasonable. Like, just stop being so selfish. Because I spend most of the day with you. The least you could do is just let me back in and get me my chapstick, or just let me look for my chapstick. That's all I ask. That's the one thing I want. But they'll say no. They'll start to panic. Another thing, and this is important to understand, the bit that's coming up is that sometimes they've had to, they fainted because they just don't have enough oxygen to their brain. Um, so yeah, that's they were going down the stairs. I was following quite closely. Um, I think I I didn't really make contact because they kind of pushed past me a little bit, which was pretty rude. Um, but you know, whatever. Um, and then they were going down the stairs. And it was all. I mean, it was all a bit of a blur. I don't really remember. My foot might have slipped. I remember it catching on something. I thought it was just the railing because I too was slightly heated. I would say because I've just been arguing with this belligerent guy, and I just really want my chapstick. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I started following quite closely, put my foot out. I don't know. It caught on something. Um, might be in the railing. Might have just been my imagination. It was not his legs. I remember that very clear. I didn't, deliberately try and trip them up, or whatever. Because if, for example, I did want to push them down the stairs, in my eyes, the most effective way wouldn't be stick my leg out and trip them up. It would just be, pushing them full force. I think, if I, because that was my intention. But I'm saying if I wanted to push them down the stairs, I would have just, pushed them, like properly, not sticking my leg out and making them trip on themselves. Just, anyway, that's besides the point. Um, yeah, and then next thing I know, they've presumably fainted. They've fallen down the stairs, the steep stairs. Um, and yeah, next thing I know, they're just laying on the floor, kind of knocked out. Um, well, I say knocked out. The thing is, when that person faints, um, by some miracle, they never ever get injured. I don't know how or why. There's been a couple incidents where they've just been standing up getting coffee or just even just walking about, and they just collapse. No head injuries, no brain injuries, no bumps or bruises or anything like that. Um, but yeah, so I normally when they faint as well, that's other important bit to mention is it's just best to leave him be. Because if you try and get close to him and surround him, obviously that makes things worse. Even though he's not conscious, that's probably what's stopping him from waking up is the fact that his body can sense. Sorry about that. His body can sense that around him that there's people and there's panic and stuff. So it's best to just kind of let him be. Um, so yeah, so he fell down the stairs, regrettably so. Um, but in my eyes, I mean, he fainted and then he fell. Um, and I don't know if he hit his head on a rock or something. I don't know if someone put a rock there because it wasn't there when I came up the stairs initially. There wasn't a rock there, but I think he hit his head on a rock, which I think was probably for the best because it kind of cushioned his fall a little bit. Because when you fall, if you land, I suppose on your side, your neck kind of jerks a little bit, and if his head lands on the rock, there's another neck jerking, so his neck will be fine. He's not going to break or anything. It's not like he's got instant death. Um, so I was quite when I went down because I had to obviously make sure he was still alive, you know, um, and disappointingly he was not disappointingly, but um, you know what I mean. He was alive. It could have been worse. Um, and yeah, it was just he fainted. That's just what happens with him. You kind of weak-willed, maybe arguably. I don't know. Um, but yeah, and then they've So obviously I can't because I catch the train to work. I don't have a car or anything. Um, and I didn't feel comfortable looking into like through his stuff to get his car keys to put him in his car. So what I did, kind of went round the corner. So there's the stairs. Opposite the stairs, there's like a smaller building, kind of like a shed thing. And then if you were to go around the shed thing, there's the bins. Um, so what I did was I picked up because I'm not gonna leave him out there, obviously in the cold all night. Um, so I picked him up and I brought him over to the bins. Lifted the I put him in the recycling bin because that has less kind of gunk and ooey stuff. You know, nauseating trash. It's a lot of papers, newspapers, milk cartons, bits of broken glass, um, and yeah. So I put him down. I covered him with newspapers. I covered his whole body. I covered his face, and his neck and his arms and the rest of him. Yeah, and then I closed the lid, um, and yeah, and then that was that, and I've just well, do you know this story does have a happy ending. Um, I was walking back, and I checked in my bag, because I kept a few of his what was it? It was his watch. It was his watch and his necklace. That's obviously quite expensive pieces of hardware he's got there. I think it was from his wife when they got married. I think gave him her a really lovely watch. That's besides the point. So I picked up his it was his watch, his wallet, and a necklace. Because obviously they're quite valuable items. So I wasn't gonna leave them with them overnight in a bin. And I went to put it in my rucksack, backpack, whatever you want to call it. Lo and behold, it had my chapstick. My chapstick was in my bag all along. That just made everything all right for me in the end. You know, I've done a good deed. You know, I'll go see him in the morning because I've just gotten home now. And thought, you know, maybe if someone finds him in the bin in the morning, because I don't share the bin. There's other people. They might not know who he is. Just so I can be like, oh no, he's meant to be there. Check the time that I've recorded this. It all kind of lines up. Um, but yeah, happy ending, happy ending. Um, that just made my day finding the chapstick in my bag. There's so much panic, I think, and anxiety. But the fact that it was there all along, it was so relieving having it there, just putting it, smothering it all over my lips. It's just glorious, glorious, glorious. Um, but yeah, I mean that's really what happened. This is on record now. I just want to make clear that I didn't push him down the stairs or cause him because I didn't I didn't do it. If you think I've done something wrong or bad, I didn't, because the the chapstick was in my bag all along, so I couldn't push him down because of the chapstick. Um, I've kept his stuff for safekeeping. It was just a bit of an accident, a bit of a ill timed, I think, mostly on his part. Because it was quite inconsiderate and rude of him to just faint on the stairs. Like, now I have to go and hide the body and make sure that all his valuables are safe. But yeah, happy ending. Chapstick was found and retrieved. Um, I have nothing more to add. I hope all of you have a lovely day. And I will catch you on the flip side, I guess, or whatever you kids say these nowadays. All right.